Obama to Osama, yo mama. And then a double tap, and it's all over. It was so easy. Then Americans danced in the streets. But the Patriot Act is still a fact, and no hit team can bring back more than 5,000 dead soldier boys and 1 million civilians dead in Iraq and Afghanistan. Through the rejoicing about the Osama hit, it's easy to forget that the founder of the original open source terrorist network was an American creation of the Cold War. It was all well and good when the IEDs were blowing up Russian troop carriers. Back then, the Mujahideen, aka the Taliban, were called the moral equivalent of the founding fathers by St. Ronald Reagan himself. Yup, back when the evil empire was the Soviet Union, the great communicator thought Osama bin Laden was George Washington. But things sure did change. The Iranian Revolution arrived just in time for radical Islam to take over from international communism as the raison d'etre for the military-industrial complex. Then 9/11 was a godsend. It gave Amero-fascists their new Pearl Harbor, and it gave Islamo-fascists their great jihad. Now the U.S. economy is out $3 trillion for wars that accomplished nothing but the enrichment of defense contractors and the creation of the next generation of terrorists. Iraq had no WMDs, only oil and a ready-made bad man with a known address. Hence, it got bombed into a neoliberal petrocracy that will never be stable without tens of thousands of American troops. If they had only waited, Al Jazeera and social media would have done the job better. But instead, the U.S. military forces in Iraq attacked and murdered Al Jazeera reporters with a vigor worthy of Saddam Hussein. Just imagine for a moment there had been no invasion of Iraq. Saddam would be alive, but fighting for his life right now as Iraqis organized on Facebook, massed against him, with Al Jazeera broadcasting their tweets. 5,000 soldiers would be home with their families. Hundreds of thousands of Iraqi civilians would still be alive to rise up. The U.S. would also be $3 trillion less in debt, and Osama would be just as dead. Instead, now, the U.S. is morally and literally bankrupt, and its own citizens don't even enjoy habeas corpus rights. Just imagine now if the United States had not overthrown the democratically elected Mossadegh government in Iran in 1952. There would have been no Shah and no Ayatollah Khomeini and one less affiliate in the axis of evil. There would have just been one more oil-rich democracy. But someone didn't want that. Imperialism can't function without a ready supply of bad guys. Now that the Arab Spring has dashed al-Qaeda's jihad for a Muslim caliphate and derailed the American right's call for crusade, new villains shall have to be engaged. Osama was barely sleeping with the fishes when Republicans started braying for the overthrow of Venezuela's Hugo Chavez. Under Chavez, Venezuela is the only country in the Western Hemisphere likely to achieve the Millennium Development Goal of cutting poverty in half by 2012. Perhaps that's why Venezuelans re-elected him repeatedly. But Venezuelan democracy now doesn't matter any more than Iranian democracy did in 1952. Chavez is a socialist sitting atop a wealth of nationalized oil. He is being groomed by the Republican corporate shills to replace bin Laden as America's top villain. In Toronto, I'm Humberto da Silva, and not Rex Murphy.